This is the Sony ZV-1, a camera so small it fits into your pocket. And in this video I'm going to discuss to you my 10 reasons for buying the Sony ZV-1 in 2022. So reason number one is this is my first camera I'm actually buying from a video or vlogging perspective. I normally buy cameras from a photography perspective because I love photography. But over the years, starting my YouTube channel, I'm starting to appreciate small form factor cameras. I've got a bunch of Instas, the 360 Go 2, the Insta360 X2, the DJI Osmo Action and the DJI Pocket 2. And all of these have a specific purpose in my camera kind of gear arsenal, if you want to call it this way. But I really want something which is more camera focused and I can bring with me on longer travels. That's the main reason. So this is really my kind of vlogging slash B-roll camera. That's reason number one. Reason number two, as I said, the form factor and its weight. This is insanely small. If you compare it, for instance, to the Sony a7 III, you already see that this is, there's no comparison. This weighs 288 grams without any accessories, which is great. And it fits into your pocket. And with that also comes, and this is also important to me, I don't have to carry any lenses because it has a built-in lens. So that's lens number 3. That might sound like a small thing because, right, it's great to have the option to change lenses. Yeah, that's why I've got all these other cameras. This here, perfect. 24-70 fixed lens with an aperture of f1.8 to f2.8. Okay, it's on a 1-inch sensor, so if you compare it to full frame, that might want to look a bit different, but who cares? You get a nice blurry background, right? That's what we're doing this for. It's got a touch screen, reason number 4. Touch screen and flip out screen. Now, if you're new to Sony, this is pretty revolutionary because Sony hasn't done flip screens for quite a bit of time, and touch screens, oh gee, that's a new thing. That's a thing to be celebrated. I come from Lumix originally, which had it 7-8 years ago. So Sony, don't know why you're sleeping so much on this one, but it's great that you've included it. Specifically for video, I think having a flip out screen makes a lot of sense. For photography, I am really not that convinced, but for filming, definitely it does. So that's great. Number 5, interchangeable batteries. So yes, you can change your batteries. And I hear you thinking, okay, is that so special? Yes, it is. Because on some of these smaller cameras I just mentioned before that I take, my complete film studio kit, if you want to call, you cannot change the batteries, which means if you're somewhere out and it's warm and you're shooting in 4K, they drain out. Oops, there you go. You can't change the batteries. You need to charge it again, which is a waste of time. That's one of the points of criticism I have on these cameras. This one, I can at least change the batteries. Battery life on this is about an hour and 10 minutes, depending on the circumstances that you're shooting in, which I think is pretty acceptable. Number 6 here. Number 6 is streaming. Streaming with this camera is made easy. There's a specific port here on the side. Plug in your HDMI streaming cable and you can stream flawlessly. Now, I'm not a big streamer, but in the future I could be. So at least I have a product which is ready. I tested this on the DJI Pocket 2. Quite a bit of a difficult process, to be very honest. Number 7, yes, we're already at number 7. This small camera comes with image stabilization. Yes, it is hard to imagine. In such a small body, they have the lens and the body itself stabilized, and you can choose 3 different modes. You can turn it completely off. You can have it in a standard mode or in an active mode. With the active modes, you do see a bit of crop, so you get a bit narrower field of view. That brings me also, before we go to number 8, this camera, I've only got it 2 days ago. I haven't really tested it, but it fascinates me. So I will make an in-depth review and also a lot of tutorials, because if you're new to Sony, or even when you're a Sony experienced user, this requires some adaptation. Obviously, I'm also going to make a comparison between this and the DJI Pocket 2, because they're both cameras aimed at vloggers and vlogging. So if you find that all interesting, hit that subscribe button. So now we go to number 8, and that is the video modes which are in here. Unlike the Insta360 cameras, you can't change any of the aspect ratios in post-production, but what it does have is 4K in 30p, 1080 in 100p, and you can slow it even down in slow motion to 960 frames per second. Whoa, that's a lot of frames in a second. Number 9, Sony picture profiles. And that sounds a bit strange because you're thinking picture profiles. Yes, it allows you to shoot in various film, yeah, in various different logs. Yeah, and it's got the normal 10 profiles on here where you can choose between HLG, S-logs. It doesn't have cinetone into it, which I've seen a few people comment on, but for me, who's just dabbling with this, it's great to have the feature and the ability, so you can pretty much play with it. We go to number 10. Number 10 are 3 features I find interesting. The first one is product on, product off, which basically means this. Hoppa, you see it centers completely here on the foreground while I'm disappearing in the background. Now this camera has a specific mode, the ZV-1. The second feature is built-in ND filters, and ND filters are these sunglasses for your camera. It's an interesting feature. I still have to test whether or not it actually works, but that's pretty awesome to have. And then last but not least of these features, and that one really surprised me, this is a $2,000 camera. This is about $540 what I paid for it. This shoots 24 frames per second. This shoots 11 or 12 frames per second. Yeah, think about that for photography. Now, is this an ideal thing for birding or sport? I don't think so. But I do think that this is very interesting in photography. Very, very interesting. Now, one other thing which for me as a Sony user is pretty normal is the autofocus and the eye tracking. For me, this is pretty normal. It's always included in every Sony camera, but if you're new to Sony, that will be reason number 11 to buy it. It's the autofocus. Anyways, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments below. See you next time.